Good evening. Welcome to a meeting of the Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee, Operating Budget Subcommittee. Present at this meeting is the Town Finance Director, Mark Milne, and subcommittee members Chris King, Chris Lauzon, Tom Keene, and myself, Lillian Wu. We are here this evening to look at the entire subcommittee report. And with that, if we could pull it up. We have reviewed almost all of it, and the parts I suggest that we look at the parts that we had not looked at before, which would be the total enterprise funds, fixed costs, and the looking ahead sections. After that, we can come back and look at formatting and editing.
Lillian, can I make a suggestion on that letter? I think I did this last time as well. I would be happy to just take this and kind of go through and do it a consistent edit all the way through, so that
Oh, that would be great.
same language or whatever, and then just get
Yeah.
it back to folks, say, by
Yeah.
Monday.
Same language, caps, punctuations,
Yeah,
and make sure that everything's in the same font.
Yep, formatting, fonts, all that.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so rather than us going through and doing every comment period today,
Yeah,
I do think we should focus on just the substance.
Thank you. That's a great relief to all of us. Chris King, you want to go through your enterprise funds?
Sure. So with the enterprise funds, it is, here's a chart of what was approved and proposed, approved in 2025 and proposed for 2026, 50 million up to 52 million with a 5% growth. And then I just went through each of the enterprise funds.
Right.
Just kind of given a little bit of a description. I think we've kind of gone through this, and I've seen some comments, no comments regarding content, but the content is really more of a overview of each item and their financial position.
Right. I noticed, we had suggested we had some suggestions, and I noticed that you've edited a bit, so it looks good to me.
Yeah, I got suggestions or edits from the team, and I've incorporated all of those edits.
Right.
Chris, I still have one question. I asked you this, but I don't understand the answer.
Yeah.
You say that all fund operations are expected to have higher revenues, but golf clearly goes down by 1.4%. I don't get it.
Yeah, golf goes down. It's not so much the service revenue. The service revenue is up substantially. The golf top line, if you want to look at that as the input, the golf budget does go down.
I think the reason I'm confused then is that you say all enterprise fund operations expected to have higher revenues, and then there's that chart, which I guess I thought was revenues.
The
table.
Yeah,
is the table expenses?
The table should be
this is the revenue
the total revenue. Right.
So the one where airport's 13.5 and golf is 4.46 and all that.
So I really go into the detail in the golf section about the fact that the golf revenue, the service revenue is up substantially. The reason for the small reduction is because the amount of funds that are coming in from the capital CIP.
The Community
as well
Preservation Fund, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. Capital Preservation Fund, as well as money that was from their own fund that they moved over. So what Gulf has done is substantially reduce that amount by, I think it was close to $380,000 or $390,000 less in money that's coming in that's not revenue, that's not service revenue. And so actually Gulf is planning on coming in quite a bit higher without having the dependence on the transfers from undesignated funds or from their own reserve funds and the CPF. Now, I could have gone into that at the start, and that's maybe I'll, to quell that question that you have is maybe say something like, with the exception of Gulf, but take a look at it's better explained in the section
or just
below
the
in Gulf.
parenthetical that says Gulf's apparent decline is explained later
Right.
on.
Right. And I get what you're saying is that, gee, I say everything's up, but then the chart doesn't show it that way. So that just creates a question. So what you're saying is avert the question by answering it up front, and I can do that.
Okay.
I think it'd just be a single line that I'll put in there.
Yeah. All right. It just jumped out at me, that's all.
Okay. Gulf is very Gulf and Airport are probably the strongest enterprise funds, but Gulf is doing quite well. And anyway, I would skip down, Lillian, down to the section where we just talk a little bit about, I guess CWMP is the biggest one. And I don't really know if this warrants a mention, but because CWMP was embedded into the sewer fund,
Right.
now all of a sudden the sewer fund had a capital trust coming in from the sewer fund and the CWMP got merged, and there was a capital trust for CWMP that got merged with the sewer construction and private way maintenance, and so it was merged. And as you can see, the total growth of the requirements or the funds that come in is not substantial, but the amount of dollars between CWMP and between the sewer fund transfer substantially. So I just thought I'd put this together just to show that all in all, it's only at 8% growth. I don't think it really.
I think that's fine.
And then, there's two main programs that are going on for 2026, fiscal year 2026. And both of those are pretty well covered with either bonds or funds coming in from Massachusetts. So it's, I think the funding and the financing for CWMP is pretty well in hand for fiscal year 26. And I'm sure fiscal year 27, 28, 29 and beyond, but 26 for sure. Kind of a fabulous job that our finance director is doing.
Yeah.
And whatever team you have that is helping you get this done. I did put a section in for, this is kind of a new section, enterprise reserves. It was never really mentioned before, but Hector brought it up. And, he brought it up as, I think it opened the discussion for a little bit of the discussion that we had in our last meeting, our last whole total meeting with the total team. But, here are the reserves that each enterprise fund has, and it's substantial. It's not consistent across each of the enterprise funds, mainly because some of the enterprise funds are set up as more of a how you want to say, not as much of a business, but more of a um, an area that is used for a play, like marinas, HYCC, even the television station is more of not really a big moneymaker.
Yeah, I think you had put the reserves in your draft 4 before the CFAC meeting, so that you had already taken that into account.
Yeah. Okay. And then below, I just kind of talk about what the reserves are used for, and then I go into a conclusion with the enterprise funds. I think the enterprise funds are really, I don't know if each town does enterprise funds like this, but this is fairly unique in my mind. And the way that it is managed is unique. The only enterprise fund that I believe has a little bit of an unfair burden is the sewer with the CWMP. But I think that's by design. And I tried to say that, you know, the sewer funds with CWMP has an exponential requirement for funding. And then I talk about the CWMP as dominating the financial risk of the town, and then still going back to the model that has been developed to utilize the model to ensure that the town can feel comfortable with the financial burden that is on itself due to CWMP. And then, I don't think I said it here, but maybe in the looking ahead section, I ended up saying that, with the model, maybe we can take a look at other large financial obligations for the town and utilize the model to see if the management of those finances is comfortable for the town. In other words,
I think
if the school wants to build a new school, can we throw in another $300 million into the CWMP model and see how that flows out through the model, and can we afford it? And that model is a fabulous model to be able to do things like that. I'm sure you can expand it beyond just the CWMP.
Okay, getting back to the enterprise fund draft. Anybody have any other comments?
Not me.
Okay, we're good. We're good to go on that one.
Yeah, I'll make that edit, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible without sending out 5 emails.
Okay.
If you want, since I'll be going through, and if you want to just give me the language in an email, you don't even have to.
All right, so if we're okay with that, I'll do that.
You get all right.
Hey, Chris, I have just one update for you on this table here for the enterprise fund reserves.
Yep.
Sandy Neck, beginning FY 2026, we're projecting to be 637, 541, and not 547, 537. It's $100,000 more.
Okay.
Yeah, we're bringing forward an appropriation from the surplus at the next council meeting in June 5th. And it's ended up being 100. Actually, let me just look that up. Let me give you the number. Might have been $150,000, not 100,000 less.
So it's 537.
It's going to be higher than 537. We're
Okay.
projecting it to be 637, 541. So it's 100,000 higher. Yes.
Okay, I'll make that change, Tom, to the table.
Yep.
I'll input the table into the file, and I'll send you that file. Okay.
Great. Yep.
Yeah. So then you have to retabulate the Sandy Neck as well as the total.
Yeah, it's a file that I just import into the report. So
It's just an Excel, right? Yeah.
right, it's an Excel file.
Mark, just as I go through doing some of these edits, my understanding is that we are not printing this year. Is that right?
Yeah.
We are doing it as PDFs, but we're not.
Yes.
Paper does not need to be seen as a premium here.
Right.
I remember last year we were so much trying to squeeze stuff into places, and
yeah, this will be a PDF document.
right, which is the way they should be. Right. That allows me to do somewhat of a cleaner document, and I'll probably do a table of contents on it and the like.
Yeah, and
that does make a difference.
That's where I looked at this and I was doing page breaks between each section, and I pulled that out, Tom.
Yeah, I saw
just
that.
for this, and I thought that it would be worthwhile to do page breaks between each section if there's no worry about printing cost.
Completely agree.
No, and Chris, I had one other change to this table. Sorry, we just received the check this week. The water supply is $1 million more. Instead of 6,084, it's 7,084.
Okay.
We received our first payment. From a lawsuit regarding PFAS. There was a national lawsuit against 3M for PFAS contamination into public water supplies. We received our first payment this week. It was almost $1 million. So that's going to go into the enterprise fund and boost their reserves.
That's the water supply?
Water supply, correct.
Okay.
See, this stuff changes on a daily basis.
$1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon it's real money, huh?
That's right.
Yeah,
it gets to be real money after a while.
Nothing's ever static in this business.
But I can still apologize for sending out a lot of different versions. Yeah. Can I, Mark?
No.
Okay, let's take a look at your fixed cost section.
Okay. So the tables have been equated. They're equal now, which is been pointed out in a review. Thank you, Tom. And it just was using old data in different parts. So we're looking at the funding sources versus the expenses. And the funding sources is described above and expenses is described above. And so this is really where all the expenses are. And, if you do a little bit of a deep dive into the expenses, the majority of the expenses are employee benefits, school assessment, and debt services. And they essentially make up 80% of the fixed cost. So I always do an 80-20 analysis, and that's really where you want to focus. If there is any area where you can um, uh, bring focus from a policy standpoint. And so that's what I've tried to say. I've gone through, a little bit ad nauseum of comparing one year versus the next and trying to then dig deep into what are the components of the growth. And Lillian, if you can, or Mark, if you can scroll down a little bit. Yeah, right there is, just trying to look at where all the costs are. And say employee benefits is the largest fixed cost for 2026, and essentially, uh, Mark, you and I talked about this. We saw that between fiscal year 24 and 25, the insurance, the active employee insurance was extremely high as compared to fiscal year 25 to 26. And the main cause of that was changing over from a 50-50 to a 70-30 insurance, as well as having open enrollment. And so the cost there was higher. I didn't get into that too much, but I did say that the cost was higher, and it has evened out, but over time it will come back. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a good explanation.
insurance costs will continue to rise. And so, just because we went through a insurance change and an open enrollment doesn't mean that that cost is not going to outpace the general fund. And all I was trying to do with these three analyses is to look at where are the costs that are going to outpace the general fund. And those are the ones that we would want to focus in on to ensure that we have a good sense of control. We might not be able to control it where it would be below the general fund increase, but as long as we know what it is and we have an understanding of where that growth is, then it's not going to be out of control. And that's what I was really trying to say. So just an I think I did kind of go into it a little into too much depth, but Lillian, if you read it and you understand it and you agree with it, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I think the recommendation to revisit the fiscal policy is a good one. It's a good suggestion.
It's been made before, and I think that
Go back one, where you at the very end, you said you're going to look at debt service and the looking ahead, and I couldn't find it in the looking ahead.
yeah, and I think we need to remove that line.
Okay, let's delete that.
That needs to be scrapped.
Okay,
I'll
that.
scrap that line.
Okay. Any comments? Changes? Recommendations? Are we all okay with that?
Yeah, I think it looks good. Good
It
work.
does. All right. Then we can now look at the looking ahead section, which everybody added to it, which I think is really important. That's clean. The school section is really good. You had raised the question, Tom, of whether we needed to talk about future construction. of schools. I think they,
You're
I,
on mute,
I
Tom.
think they mentioned that in their CIP report. So, I think it's a important issue, but it's already been, it was in their CIP report.
Yep.
So I don't know whether you want to,
I don't think we need to reiterate it.
okay. But I just wanted to address that because you had asked the question.
How did the school go with your report, Tom?
They were good. I mean, I dealt with both Chris Dwelly and the superintendent, and we went back and forth a couple of times. They had some suggested changes, which I incorporated. But I think they were good. I am going to change the outcomes section, which is right here, because I don't know if you saw that the governor does have some new proposals out there for what we do post MCAS, which are getting trashed, by the way, but I'll probably try to incorporate that in there.
I mean, I think you were pretty direct. You didn't dance around issues, and that's what I was wondering, if they were appreciative of your
Right, I know.
directness.
I was very direct. It's a flaw. But they were okay. Yeah, I actually surprised. I actually expected more pushback, but we had a good dialogue back and forth.
I think your recommendation that that the school system come up with a new objective measures is a really good one. Because we're hanging in there with, not able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As I think you all know, I work for a school system in DC.
yeah,
And, if we don't have objective measures, then we have no idea what we're doing.
yeah.
And I have to tell you, it is so easy to lie to yourself.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
kids seem happy. Look at that. Oh, they're so articulate. Of course, they're, it's just so easy. It is the easiest thing in the world. Oh, that's a brilliant kid. And then, you give him a test and he's not. And it's like, because sometimes it's teacher favoritism or whatever. That's the beauty of objective tests is it also does away with the discretion. But anyway.
Can I make a comment? Can I make a comment? During the school review, there were, I can't remember exactly who it was that was saying it, but there was that Yarmouth eating our lunch comment.
Right.
And it would be really beneficial for the town if Barnstable took a leadership position in trying to figure out how to measure itself from a student standpoint, and then use that leadership position with other schools on the Cape.
Or statewide. I mean, because ultimately we need a statewide system.
Yeah.
And maybe what I'll do is try to strengthen that to say exactly what you just said, Chris. That would be it would be terrific to see.
I think that's the crux of your comments about the schools.
Yes.
Well, that whole MCAS statewide referendum was based on a lot of media saying that you needed to abolish it because the children needed to be creative, whatever that meant. No other comments.
I think we can measure the creativity by the TikTok videos.
Okay, so do you think you want to add a little bit to that?
I may, as I go through this.
Well, since the editing's in your hands, you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to staff.
And by the way, we'll just say that when I come back with the edit, I will also send you all a red line so that you can see what I changed. So, okay.
Very nice. Thank you.
I think the staffing is really complete. It's really a good workup. Good job, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just a perennial problem, obviously, so gotta try
Yeah.
to find some kind of solution.
Well, it can't be said often enough because it's going to be with us for quite a while. And you point that out.
Yep.
Yeah. Any comments, suggestions? I think it's well done.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Moving on to inflation and interest rates. Actually, the inflation rate as of yesterday was 2.3. So we could change it if we wanted to. But there's no telling that it wouldn't go back up.
I think it probably will. Well, we never know what happens with the tariffs, but
Exactly. Yeah.
but probably that should be 2.3.
Yeah. Let's move it to 2.3. And then water, I kept pretty much the same because CIP dealt with the infrastructure uh, and Chris dealt with the operating budget. So I left it in general terms. You think we should add anything more?
I think that's fine. I mean, water gets talked about throughout the report constantly, so
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
yeah. That's it. Okay.
I'm not on Barnstable water or Hyannis water, but calm water doesn't have a CFAS problem. It's only Hyannis, or that from what I understand.
Yeah, the PFAS problem is only in Hyannis.
Right,
I think from the fire academy training primarily.
correct. Right. And is that where the 3M money is coming from that activity?
Yeah,
You-
mostly it's the products. 3M produced the products that the Fire Training Academy used, but that was a nationwide lawsuit. It wasn't specific to the Fire Training Academy. PFAS exists in water supplies everywhere. Many places we probably don't even know yet if they're not doing the proper testing. It all depends on the area and what requirements are for testing. But PFAS isn't PFAS isn't a problem for our drinking water in Hyannis. It's gone. It's removed. It's very clean, safe, meets standards, drinking water now. So we've addressed that issue.
Okay.
How much money is the town getting from that lawsuit overall?
I don't know, Chris. It's a good question. I think it's a few $1,000,000. This was just the first payment, but I haven't
Sounds
seen.
good.
There's
Yeah.
other
It's good if the
lawsuits out there as
$1,000,000
well.
checks keep coming in. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it that's just we've spent millions on new water treatment facilities
Mhm.
that to address the removal of PFAS in that drinking water, and so it's just a drop in the bucket compared to what we spend, but every dollar helps, and we'll I'll try to get more information as to what the total settlement is, but I think some of them are still, again, like I said, there's other ones out there. It's not just 3M, and I'm not sure what
Yeah.
the settlement schedule is. It may have represented a 20% payment, the first payment. I think it might have been 20%.
Okay. Good.
Okay. In the event, I guess we're going to be presenting to town council on June 5th, Mark?
Yes, I'm going to ask the next agenda setting meeting with the leadership of the council. I'm going to ask that they provide you some time
Okay.
to talk about the highlights of your report. You probably want to keep it brief just because it's going to be a long night with all the public hearings that we have, and
Yeah.
focusing on your your conclusions, looking ahead, maybe perhaps things like that.
Yeah, I've
Recommendations.
asked Jim Spruill to send us a copy of his PowerPoint of the
Mhm.
CIP, which was clean, clear, precise, and totally unencumbered by the mounds of data. So he's going to do that. And do you think we should do a PowerPoint or just sort of talk? Because we
You
can
know,
do that.
either one. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's best just to have a conversation.
Okay, why don't we do that?
And yeah, and I think it may perhaps somebody from this group would be best to present it. I know Hector will probably be there to introduce everybody, but I think it's best somebody who participated in the development of the document lead the discussion, if you're comfortable with that.
So you think we need one spokesperson?
I think best to have one. Or a couple would be good too. I mean, actually, I think that they did. That's how Jim and Jeremy did it together for the capital side, and that went
Right,
very well. It was received very well. So maybe perhaps a couple of you share the talking points on your report.
Well, Chris Lawson did a super job last year.
Are you volunteering me, Lillian?
I think I just heard that.
I'm just saying, you have a 4-star track record.
Ah, well, I appreciate that. I'll have to see. That's June 5th.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if I'm available, but yeah.
And anybody else would like to do it?
Yes, someone join me, please.
No, but I thought that you handled it very well. You put everybody at ease.
Well, I appreciate
I mean,
that.
you weren't a rocket scientist, I know that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm fine doing that. We can make our points and I'm happy to present them. Yeah.
Okay. And we can be there
For moral support. Yeah.
Moral support. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. And don't forget that tomorrow night, the town council, Mark is going to be presenting the overview of the operating budget. If you want to tune in to Channel 8.
Yep, just a high level overview. We're not going to get into nitty-gritty details. It's a very busy agenda tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I was thinking of showing up and doing cat calls, Mark. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
So I guess we can vote to approve our report based on the changes that Chris King is going to do and the editing that Tom is going to do.
Right. I think that we could do that.
Do we need to look at it one more time? I don't think so. It looks good.
I would move to approve with those contingencies.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve it as amended. All in favor? Yay!
Aye.
All right. I think we did a super job. And I must tell you, on a personal level, this is the best subcommittee I have ever worked on. And I've been on this committee for 13 years, and that's something. It has been easy. Everybody has done really solid work. Thank you very much.
You too, Lillian. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lillian. And Chris King, it's been the best you've worked on too?
Pardon me?
The best operating subcommittee you've worked on is with this one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The first one. First and best.
All right.
Well, that's wonderful. Your maiden voyage. Okay, so once you've sent us a totally edited version, are we ready then to send it to the full committee? Mark, or do we want to look at it one more time?
I think, if Tom does his edited version, we could probably just share that with the full committee on the 26th. If Tom can send it out to everybody in advance of that, and
Okay,
I think what I'll do, if I could, is I will send out my edits. I will try to do it by Monday. I will just send it to this group individually, and if you have pushback, because you'll be able to see the red lines, let me know. Then I can do a final like on Wednesday.
okay, sounds
would
like a
be-
plan.
That would be sent to the entire CFAC.
Great, thank you.
and
Is
Tom,
there-
I'll go through it one more time just to fact check the numbers in case.
Please.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Every
So then we-
iteration.
Well, and they'll, hopefully they won't change.
Oh, yeah, they shouldn't at this point. Yeah.
One of those changes is really happy with. So if that happens again,
Yeah.
we'll find
Yeah.
more millions there.
Well, it's a real page turner.
Yeah.
People stay late at night reading this report. All
No, I
right,
think we're up to 29 pages this year. This is
I
the
know.
longest, lengthiest report subcommittee's ever had.
Well, since the bulk of it is on schools,
Sorry.
yeah,
At least it's not the 200 pages you promised Hector.
yeah, there you go. Is there anything else that we need to discuss?
Not from me.
Yep, all good.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.